everyone. For today's practice, we're going to be focusing on a lot of mindful movement. So if we're ready, we'll find any easy seat of our choosing. We can allow those hands to rest however we want them to rest today. And it might feel good to let our eyes close. Now, if we can, we're just taking a few moments with that stillness. And we can even check in to see how that stillness feels. So it's okay if that stillness maybe doesn't feel so still. It's okay if it takes work. It's okay if the mind is reacting strongly to it. But likewise, it's perfectly okay if we find we've sunk into this stillness, that we are ready for this break in whatever our day has been entailing. But if we can, we're trying our best to notice without judgment. Neutral observation is the foundation of everything we're trying to do here. And I truly believe it's one of those things that can help build up our resilience. So just noticing how we feel in that stillness and not trying to assign a label to it. And certainly not trying to judge ourselves for it one way or the other. But then we can bring some attention towards our breath. And it can always be as simple as just noticing how it feels to inhale today. And noticing how it feels to exhale. That's really all we have to do, is just notice that breath. If we can, we might try to expand that breathing. And as we do so, I invite you to be curious as to what areas are getting stuck. So on the inhale, noticing what tends to not move, and see if we can add a little expansion there. And let that exhale relax whatever has been activating. And likewise, as we start to repeat this, and at our own pace, it doesn't have to be in the manner that I am cueing it, using those inhales as a chance to expand out, maybe through the upper back, maybe through the ribs, maybe let that belly relax. Let the exhale be a chance to let things release. As always, this is our time. And we might decide today is a day that we want to continue to focus on all those areas that tend to not move when we're breathing. That upper back area, maybe the sides or front of the ribs. We could also combine it with our exhalation meditation. So on our inhale, we might be focusing on what can expand, but the mind can also wander. But then can all of our attention go on the exhale? So likewise, the inhale expands, but the exhale is where we bring our attention. So again, those inhales, just make them your own. But as we breathe out, can we notice how the breath feels as it leaves the nose or the mouth if our nose is stuffed up right now? Likewise, on the inhale, whatever we need here, if the mind needs to wander or even fret. But our exhale is all about that exhale. Today might even be a day that we're audibly exhaling as a way to not only help focus, but maybe just help out in other ways. Maybe today we'd like to sigh out that exhale. We take that deep breath in. And when we let out a sigh, take that breath in. And maybe we just let the mouth hang open. Again, make that time your own. None of these practices are better or worse than the other. Just a matter of what we need right now. And then if we can, we'll give this 3 or 4 more deep breaths. ourselves just a few more breaths here, noticing if there's any resistance in the mind. As always, if there isn't any, don't go looking for it. We're just observing if there is any. And then maybe we're ready to bring our hands together at our heart. And as we set our positive intention, perhaps we take that moment to remind ourselves our intention is something we already have. We're just taking our practice as a chance to either focus on it, bring it to the forefront, build from it. But this is certainly something we don't have, and we're hoping yoga will give it to us. So as we set our intention today, strength, patience, resilience, love, anything, can we remind ourselves that this is something we already have to some degree? And then we can take in the inhale that feels good. The exhale could rest our hands against our legs. Always mindful the eyes could stay closed for as long as we want. If it feels good, on our next inhale, we'll let our arms lift up towards the ceiling. And on our exhale, we'll let them relax all the way back down. So again, we could repeat that. The inhale brings the arms up towards the ceiling. The exhale slowly floats them down. And again, we'll repeat this if we can. Let our inhales be our guide to bring them up. Our exhales to be our guide to bring them down. So as we're repeating this very simple movement, I really want you to focus on this being breath guided. All too often, and I do this myself, I will move my body and then think, oh, I need to inhale, and I gotta make sure I exhale as my arms come down. But if we can, we're gonna try our best to think, I exhale slowly. And that was my cue to bring my arms down. And I inhale slowly. And that was my cue to bring my arms up. And I really, really recommend that we try to carry this with us throughout our entire practice today as we move with our breath. This right here is one of the best ways to really jumpstart that moving meditation. Think about this as breath-centered. Now we can stay with this movement. We don't have to add on. Maybe the next time we inhale, the arms up. On the exhale, we twist to one side and the hands can come down. We're going to pause here for a moment though, if we can. We don't have to continue flowing. We're just going to take a moment with that twist. Notice how it feels. And then we'll try it on the other side. Maybe on our inhale, we come right back up. And using the exhale, we twist to the other side. And now if we don't want to pause, we don't have to pause. Make this time your own. We're just giving ourselves a moment to notice how the twist feels. And then we can find that flow. Maybe we inhale back up to center. And we exhale and twist. Eventually the inhales bring us to center. The exhales bring us to twist. Now I want you to go at your own pace now. Be a little less descriptive during this particular flow. Maybe notice how it feels when there isn't any verbal cueing or verbal things to listen to versus silence. Maybe one more on each side. Now if we're ready, we can just come back to center one last time, reaching the arms. It's okay if they're a little tired right now. We might even add in a gentle back bend where we press through the belly, lift up through the chest, and we just let the arms lightly slide back a little. And then we'll relax everything down. Now, it might feel good to shrug out the shoulders. That's always one of my favorite things to do after seated poses. If we're ready, we'll find our way into a seated or our tabletop position. So from seated, we could swing the legs around, we can roll over our shins, And once we find that tabletop position that feels good, we're going to come back to some more mindful movement, and we'll just go into those torso circles. So we can always let our torso shift to one side, a little circle down and around. Now again, we really want to make this time our own. And especially when it comes to mindful movement, I really invite you guys to close the eyes. Maybe my words are more than enough right now. I know for me, when I'm feeling a little extra anxious and I'm watching a video or doing an online class, my eyes kind of glue to the video, glue to the screen. And sometimes it just feels good to kind of close the eyes. If audio is enough right now for me to understand what's going on, I just keep those eyes closed. Now, if we like, those torso circles can take on different shapes. Maybe we like to add in a little diagonal line, turn it into a figure 8. Maybe it feels good just to zigzag a little bit or move where there are spots that feel a little stuck today. A lot of us, we're kind of stuck at home right now. Maybe the hips are feeling it. So this is really just a chance to move in whatever way we need to move. Now, if we're doing any particular shape, I do invite you to reverse the direction. And if we're going free form, maybe we ask ourselves, if I thought about doing my free form in reverse, what would it feel like? Now, if we can, we're going to come back to center, back to that tabletop position. As always, if we need a moment for the wrists, we can shake them out, we can stretch them out, whatever we need. And maybe we do a few cat-cow movements from here. Now we could always drop our belly down and take that breath in. Maybe we round the back with that breath out. But again, we want to think breath-centered. So maybe it's more as I inhale, I dropped my belly. And my exhale was my reminder to round my back. We can do the inverse. Maybe our exhale was our reminder to drop the belly, and our inhale is our reminder to round the back. Both versions have great benefits to them. They just bring different things to the table. As always, we want to approach our yoga practice with all these different variations and just ask, is what you're bringing to the table something I need? If the answer is no, there's no judgment. We just don't do it. Now trying our best to let that breath lead the way. Our inhales were our reminder to do one pose. Exhales, our reminder to do the other. And we're just going to repeat this just a few more times, nice and slow. And we'll start to wind down from this, nice and slow from here. We'll come back to our tabletop position when we're ready. As always, if we need a moment, shake out the hands, stretch out the hands, whatever you need to do. Now we might play around with our balancing table flow. Some people know this as sunbathing lion flow. It's whatever you'd like. We'll start first with noticing what our balancing table is going to look like today. So our balancing table could always look like extending the right leg with the toes still on the floor. Or we might prefer to lift up the leg. We might prefer a variation where that left hand slides out and the fingers are on the floor. Or we lift up the arm. Any variation of those two. It could be toes stay down, hand stays down, both stay down. Take a moment. Notice what your version is today. Now if we're ready, we'll come down and we're going to see what our version is on the other side. Now that left leg could extend out and maybe toes are on the ground. Maybe it lifts up. Maybe we slide that opposite arm out and the fingers are on the ground. Or we reach the arm up. Again, do we want a variation where the hands and legs stay down? Just the leg stays down. Just the arm stays down. Make this your own. What do you want to do? And then we can bring that down. Now we might need a moment here. Shake it out. Roll out the wrists. And now we're going to find that flow. And we really want to think breath-centered. Even with something as physical as this. Can my inhale be my reminder to bring up my first side? And the exhale is my reminder to bring it down. My inhale is my reminder to bring up the second side. And my exhale brings it down. So again, my inhale brings up maybe my right leg. And the exhale is bringing it down. My inhale brought up the right leg. Exhales brought it down. Again, really just make this our own, alternating. So it's opposite hand and leg. You're welcome to try same leg and arm, but that's a little challenging. That's tough even for me. So again, really make that time what you need it to be. Exhales nice and full. Exhales nice and slow, and the body is just doing its best to move in sync with the breath. We're also helping out our core here. We're helping out our back, especially if we found an uptick in low back pain during our time social distancing. This might help out. So just a few more times like this. We're going to slowly come down. We're going to slowly finish up, whichever side you want to finish up on. If you want to make sure you feel balanced, making sure we end on whatever side we did not begin with. We'll come back. If we need a moment for the wrists, shake them out, stretch them out, do what you need. We'll find our way into a child's pose. Figure out the child's pose you personally want today as we shift back and maybe back and down. And we can take a moment with this. As always, we make this time our own. This can be a very cerebral time, very mental and emotional time. It can be more of a physical time, mix of the two. Today might be a day where we're really anchoring our hips to where they are, and we just inchworm our fingers a centimeter forward. And then we sink our hips back just a little bit more. Maybe we're creating a little bit of traction in our back, maybe not. If we feel like our shoulders are about to dislocate, please ease back. Now, if we're ready, we can find our way into our downward facing dog. So we're welcome to come back up. We're welcome to readjust the hands, the feet. We are trying our best to let our fingers spread wide. Do a little gripping of the mat if that feels good. And then we'll curl the toes and shift back and up. And we'll take a moment here. Maybe it just feels good to really pedal out our heels. We'll play with the flow from here, but mindful that if this is hard on the wrists, we take breaks, we come out of it. We can do this on our forearms. We can even just come back to our table and lift our legs that way. If we would like, we're going to play with our down dog splits, and mindful, most people's splits look like the letter L, so please don't force this. When we are ready, we could lift one leg up on our inhale, and on the exhale, we'll bring it back down. The inhale will lift up our opposite leg, and the inhale brings it down. So just a few of these. So we're going to inhales, we lift one leg, exhale it down, inhale the opposite, exhale down. Just a few more, I promise. Inhaling for the first leg, exhale it down, inhale the opposite leg, exhale down. One more on each side now. Go at your own pace for these ones. When we are ready, we'll find our forward fold. So that might mean walking our feet in, walking the hands to the feet, doing a combo of the two. It's our first forward fold. So as always, we might just shake the head out. Maybe we nod the head out. Maybe we do a little sway. Maybe it just feels good to do those wrist hugs where we lightly squeeze maybe under the wrists or very carefully on the wrist itself. Again, notice where your level is at today. Nothing's forced. We take that breath in. We take that breath out. Now, if we're ready, we'll come up to stand. We'll press through our feet. We can let our arms reach up and overhead. We'll let our hands come together at the heart, pausing here if that's possible. We'll take that breath in. We'll take that breath out. We're going to find our half sun salutations. Again, we want to think simple, repetitive movement. That's really at the heart of moving meditation. So if we're ready, we're going to inhale those arms up and overhead. We'll exhale and find that forward fold. We'll inhale for a halfway lift. Now think of this coming from the back, and the hands just go where they're going to go for support. And the exhale relaxes down. The inhale brings us up. Press through the feet, press through the belly. Keep that back protected as the arms come up and the hands can come back. Now we repeat this. We're going to inhale as we come up. Exhales help us come down. Inhales help halfway up. Exhales bring us down. Inhales bring us all the way up again. Exhales can bring our hands to our heart. We repeat. Inhales, lift. Exhales, lower. Inhales for halfway. Exhales for back down. Inhales all the way up. The exhales to the heart and inhaling as we lift. Exhale, we lower. Inhale, strong back. Exhale, down. We'll inhale all the way up. Exhales, hands to heart. This last one I want you to do on your own, so go at your own pace. No rush whatsoever. We finish when we finish. And when we're here, once we get back to our hands at the heart, I want you to pause. And maybe we can notice our heartbeat. Notice the heartbeat as we breathe in and as we breathe out. Now, as we are ready, we'll find our way to a chair pose. So again, we're trying our best to think toes pointing straight ahead. We're going to do our best to do either hips width or feet together. And when we're ready, we'll shift back and down. Taking a moment here if we can. So we're going to play with our ski jumper flow, and maybe this turns into straightening the legs. It might even turn into a little bit of a lift of the toes, but one thing at a time. So first, we're just going to find that chair, press through the belly. We're going to inhale, think length. On the exhale, we'll swing our arms back, maybe tilt the torso forward if we have space. And on the inhale, pressing through the belly as we come back up. And on the exhale, we'll come back, ski jumper. So we'll do this in full one more time where we come up, we come back. Now, if we'd like, next time those arms come up, we'll straighten our legs. On the exhale, we'll re-bend the knees and let the arms swing back. So the inhale can bring us back up. The exhale can swing us back. So again, we can think, I've straightened my legs as my arms reach. I return to ski jumper as I exhale. So again, inhales remind us to come back up. Exhales can place us into the pose. So we're just going to do this in full one more time. Now, if we like, we're going to straighten the legs. Arms are going to lift up. We're going to pause here. Now, we might not add on any tip-toe work, especially if our ankles don't feel good. Now, if we can, we're going to press through the balls of our feet. Really press the big toe, because most of us tend to sickle our heels out to the side. And we're going to press through the ball of the big toe and the big toe and the ball of my feet so much that my toes lift. I still press as I come down. Now we might even do that again, a little grip of the mat. We might think the toes are trying to crumple paper, but I'm still pressing that big toe down a lot, pressing the base of my big toe down too, lifting up, coming back. Now if we want, we can add this in. On an exhale, we ski jumper, knees bend, arms swing back. On our inhale, think about that foundation, pressing through the feet as we lift up. With control, we come back, ski jumper. Inhaling, pressing through those feet to safely come up. Exhale, we can come back. One more in full. So we're going to come up. We're going to come back. And then maybe one last time, we'll lift up, lifting through those heels if we are doing that. And then everything comes down nice and controlled. Kind of shake things out a little bit if we need to. We'll come to mountain pose for a moment. We'll let our palms rotate forward or away. We might close our eyes. Can we notice our heartbeat right now? Can we notice how it feels to breathe in? Can we notice how it feels to breathe out? Now, if we can, I'm going to do a little bit of balance play before finding our warrior two. So we might start a little closer to the top of our mat. We'll put weight into our left leg first if we can, pressing through that left foot as the right knee lifts. So sometimes it just feels good to roll out the ankle. Sometimes we might like to play with little knee swings. Sometimes we might even think almost like a tango move where the knees swing side to side and the feet almost kind of drag across the floor. We can get creative with this if we want to. Now when we are ready, we're going to come back to our warrior two. We're going to step back, heels come down, we come up, and if we need to readjust, feet don't feel right, we adjust until they do feel right. And again, feeling right and not being challenged are two different things. We can always remind ourselves of that. We can feel challenged, but still know that it is right. Now, when we are ready, we're going to come back to that flow. We're going to inhale to straighten our front leg and the arms can lift up. And we exhale, we return to warrior two. So we can inhale to come up, exhaling for warrior two. So there are two things we're going to really focus on as we start to go. Well, the first one is maybe thing at number 0. Breath is leading the way. My exhales brought me back, and my inhales lifted me up. Then option or thing number 2 to look at is the arms. So we can draw these semicircle patterns, but if the shoulders don't like that, we can draw letter L's instead, where the arms come through center. We can also keep the hands at the heart. Now the other thing we're going to notice is our knee. Can I keep it drawing a straight line as I straighten and as I bend? So just noticing, so if it's accidentally drawing letter C's, it kind of bows into the middle and then comes back. We want to see if we can activate that outer thigh area and keep that knee making straight lines. That's really good for knee health. Trust me on that one. Again, just use whatever breathing pattern's working for us today. We're going to wind down from this nice and slow. We're going to come back to center when we are ready. We'll let our arms relax. We're going to find our way into a wide-legged fold. So we can always straighten the front leg. We're going to pivot our front foot in, pivot our back leg, and we might need to readjust the feet. Trying your best to let the toes point straight ahead. When they point out, that means we're skipping our outside calf muscle stretch. So when we are ready, we'll tilt forward. Now we're always welcome to let the hands walk us down. Some people prefer to guide the hips down. Make that time your own, your transition, your time. And we're going to take a moment with this if we can. Great time to notice if we want the knees to be bent. If we prefer something elevated, if we have blocks or stacked books or even a chair that we'd rather place our hands on the seat for, we can. Now, if we would like, we're going to play with some halfway lifts. But with these, we really want to make sure the knees are a little soft. We don't want to lock out here. We want to press the feet into the mat. This is really all about as much leg strength as it is back strength. But on our inhale, we'll find a halfway lift. So think strong back, brings us up. Maybe hands are on our shins. They can also dangle in front of us or beyond blocks. On an exhale, we're going to relax it down. So maybe we can find that flow. So an inhale, we come up. Exhale, we come back down. Inhale, that halfway up. Back is leading the charge. Exhales, bring us down. Maybe one more like this. And then once we're ready, we'll find the forward fold of our choosing. Now, it might just feel good to shake the head out. It might feel good to sway a little bit. Some even like to drop one hip for a moment, come back to center, drop the other hip a little bit. Maybe that changes the stretch we're feeling in the dropped hips, inner thigh area. As always, if we're finding we're getting a dull ache on the outside of our legs, that is normal. Our outside calf muscles are some of the most overworked areas we have on almost all of us. They are chronically overworked, chronically tight. And that dull ache is just what happens when we hold a stretch in an area that needs release. As always, a dull ache should not be confused with burning sensations or anything that is genuinely painful. Whatever we found, we'll try our best to breathe in. We'll try our best to breathe out. Now, when we're ready, we'll come up. Maybe we bend the knees and press through the feet. We're lifting our body with our legs, not our back. Now, when we're ready, we come back to the top of our mat. That might mean pivoting the front foot forward and then stepping in, but you get there however you need to. I invite you to close the eyes for a moment. Maybe we just let the arms hang heavy, but we're welcome to find mountain with rotating the arms forward. We'll just take a moment with that if we can. Take that breath in if possible. And we take that breath out if possible. Now, if we are ready, we're going to try it on the other side. Again, make this balance play your own. Keyword here is play. We're going to press that opposite foot down. So if we started on our right side, now we're on the left leg. Or if we started on the left leg, now we're on the right. We're going to press through that new foot as we lift up our opposite leg. Now it could be, let me just roll out the ankle. It could be little knee swings side to side. We're playing with that little tango move where we kind of do this little sway side to side. It's almost like the toes are trying to draw these very interesting lines on the ground. It's okay if we lose our balance over it. Again, this is play. Now when we are ready, we're going to find our way into our warrior two. We step back, heels found the ground, we got tall, we've opened up, and we pause. So we're going to try our best to take that breath in. Take that breath out. And then we find that flow. So we could inhale as we come up. Exhale as we come down. Again, notice what you personally need right now. First things first, is my breath leading the charge? My inhales brought me up. My exhales brought me back. And likewise, how's my arms doing? Would I prefer to draw letter L's or even a combo of the two, half semicircle, half letter L? How's my knee doing? Can I have it pointing straight ahead? Does it tend to go in and then out? That's really not good for the knee. We're going to try our best to think straight line. Activate those outside thigh muscles. Let that knee make that nice letter I. As the leg straightens, as the knee bends. Again, letter I's, not letter C's right now. Just a few more like this. Now when we're ready, we're going to wind down. We'll find our way back to warrior two. We can relax the arms. We might even need to shrug them out. It's okay if those shoulders are getting tired. We're going to straighten our front leg, pivot that front foot in, readjust the back heel. Now we might need to readjust the feet, or even welcome to turn the feet slightly inwards if we really want to focus on that outside calf muscle area, but we don't have to. When we are ready, we're finding our forward fold, so that might mean walking ourselves out or guiding the hips down, whatever way you want to come into it. Now we're just going to give ourselves a moment. Again, notice how that forward fold feels. Notice how the back feels. How are the knees? How are the hips? If we'd like, we're going to add in that half lift flow. When we are ready, soft knees, press through the feet. We really want to think we're lifting our body with our legs, not our back. We're going to press through the feet, press through the core, halfway lift. On the exhale, we've come down. On the inhale, halfway lift. On the exhale, release down. So on the inhales, we can think active through the body. Maybe on the exhales, we release the body. Maybe on the inhales, as we press and lift. But the exhales remind us to relax. Maybe 3 more like this. Now when we're ready, we'll find the forward fold that we need. Sometimes it's nice to have something elevated. You rest your hands or forearms on it, and you just bend the knees. Another option is to play with a little bit of tractioning, where with soft knees, we keep the hips glued to where they are. We don't want them to walk out with us. We just walk our hands out a little bit. And then we think hips are trying to travel towards the back of the room. This is definitely a lot easier to do with bent knees than straight legs, but you can try straight legs if you feel like that feels better for you. Just that breath in and breath out. Now when we are ready, we're going to come back to standing. So lock the hands in if we have them out. Think I'm pressing my feet into the legs. I've lifted my body up with my legs. We'll come to the top of our mat. We can pivot our front foot. We'll step in, shake it out a little bit. We'll find our way into our mountain pose again. So we can always rotate the palms forward or away. We might close our eyes. And we take that moment. Can we notice how the body's doing right now? And if we can we notice without judgment, which also includes positive judgments? Just notice how it feels right now. We can remind ourselves that how we feel right now, even if it is potentially more relaxed or even not so relaxed, it's actually more agitated. Just notice where you are. It is our body reacting to what is around it. Its body is reacting to its environment. This yogi environment, this yogic environment, which sometimes can help us. Sometimes it's a little more challenged than anything else. But again, we want to remind ourselves, our body is trying to help us out. Our body is reacting to the environment around it. Now, if we would like, we're going to find our way into our tree pose. That is balance. So we might prefer our mat. Maybe our mat's too squishy, so we're off the mat. We can also get closer to a wall. We want to remind ourselves there's a lot going on with our tree pose. It doesn't have to just be about balance. Now, if we are ready, I'm going to put weight into our left leg first. I'm going to soften the knees. I know it's tempting to lock the knees out, but we're going to try to practice soft knees. Press that left foot down. Establish your foundation. Maybe we're even pressing that big toe down, that base of the big toe, especially if we tend to sickle the foot out towards that pinky toe side. Now, when we're ready, we're going to find the tree pose we need. If you know which version works for you, you don't have to wait till I'm cueing it. It might be heel and ankle meet, and that could be our pose. This challenges the balance. Maybe the foot is up. Maybe it's on the shin. If we want higher, it might be either behind the knee, whether the toes are pointed, or we like to kind of hook our foot into the knee, or we could play with essentially a ballerina pose where just the toes are on the shin. We really want to try our best not to essentially slam the foot onto the knee. Maybe it's inner thigh, but if it's inner thigh, we might find it's about strength. We're pressing the foot into the thigh back into the foot. Higher does not mean better. Higher just made it different, that's all. Now again, make this your own. Hands might stay low, hands might be at the heart. Maybe we do strong yogi. One of my favorite yoga instructors when I first started out would flex during it and he would call it strong yogi. Whatever we want to do here, we might even just kind of sway. Again, make that your own. And try our best to breathe in. And breathe out. It's okay if that leg's getting tired. Can we notice that tiredness and breathe in? Breathe out. One more breath. Now when we're ready, we can mindfully bring it down. Pause for a moment if it's possible. Notice that left leg. Notice the right leg. Notice how they're telling us two different things. Again, our body is reacting to the environment that it is in. Maybe it feels good to shake out the legs now. Again, just because they're reacting to the environment it is in doesn't mean we can't help it out. Now, when we are ready, we're going to try it on the other side. Soft knees if possible, putting weight into our right foot. Press that foot down. Notice your foundation today. Now, if we're ready, maybe it's heel and ankle, foot and calf, foot behind the knee, whether the toes are pointed, foot is hooked, or we're doing that ballerina point where there's no pressure on the knee joint. Maybe it's foot to the inner thigh, pressing foot into the thigh back into the foot. Arms do what they need to do. Maybe we like to reach them up and overhead. Maybe we like to get a little tricep stretch in, a little bend of the elbows. Make it your own. Make this creative. What do you want to do out of this pose? What do you want to do with this pose? Again, we're here for a little bit. And give yourself a moment to be present with it. Again, if we can be present with challenge on the mat, we're a little more equipped to be present with challenge off the mat. So just notice it. Notice when your mind is already in the future to when you can be out of this pose already. And as long as the challenge is staying constructive, stay with me. Deep breath in. Deep breath out. Full inhale. Full exhale. One more breath, whatever version of this pose we're doing right now. And then we'll mindfully come out. Again, mindful and graceful, two separate terms. Pause if we can. Notice that right leg. Notice the left. Just notice the differences. Notice how the muscles are reacting to the challenges that we presented it. And then maybe we shake it out. Now, if we're ready, we can come towards more or less the top of our mat, but it's okay if we prefer more of halfway point. This is really just to flow us back to our down dog. We're going to take a moment here. Now, if we're ready, we'll inhale our arms up and overhead. We exhale, finding that forward fold. We'll inhale, halfway lift, strong back. On the exhale, we can plant our hands and we'll step back, downward facing dog. Just taking a moment here if we can. Trying our best to breathe in. Trying our best to breathe out. And then if we're ready, we'll just find our way into our child's pose. Knees can come down. We'll shift back, maybe back and down. And we pause. As always, this is our time, our practice. We don't have to do anything that doesn't feel right for us. Now, if we would like to add in our side bend while we're in child's pose, we might walk our hands over towards one side. Maybe we start on our left side, maybe on the right. But can we let our opposite hip anchor down? Maybe even think about that opposite hip trying to travel closer towards the wall behind us. And we try our best to breathe in. And try our best to breathe out. And then we can come back to center. And we try it on the other side. Just walk in the opposite direction. But that new opposite hip, can it anchor down or travel towards the wall behind us? Or at least we're imagining that it's traveling towards the wall behind us. Again, just a little stretch through the back if that's possible. Deep breath in. Deep breath out. Now, if we're ready, we'll come back to center. We'll come back up. We'll find our way into our seated position. Get there however you want to get there, and maybe it feels good to extend the legs out for a moment. A little leg shake, move the feet. Again, that just gets everything going again. So we'll find our way into our seated side bend. And what we might do is we might take our left leg, let it come out to the side. Right leg can bend, and we just bring that foot into the inner leg. Now, if it feels good, we can always take that left hand, let it rest on the leg or the ground or even to the side of us. Make this your own. As we're ready, we could lift up with our opposite arm. And if it feels good, we'll go up and overhead. And we'll just take a moment with that if we can. Take that moment to breathe in. Take that moment to breathe out. As always, if reaching with the arm doesn't feel good, we have the option of hand on the hip or hand behind the back. Neither better nor worse, they're just bringing different things to the table. We'll try our best to breathe in. We'll try our best to breathe out. Now, if we can, we're going to come all the way up to center. We'll take a moment to twist towards that right side. So we want to think I'm twisting through my rib cage area. Arms are along for the ride, and then we just plant them wherever we want to plant them. Try your best to think tall through the back. If you do need support, but planting your hand on the ground kind of has you leaning back in a funky way, something elevated behind us, a stack of books, a block, whatever works for us and is sturdy. And if those books have a very slippery cover, we might want to opt for a different book. And we just try our best to breathe in. Try our best to breathe out. If if we're ready, we'll come back to center. I'm going to stay facing center, and if it feels good, we'll fold forward. So hands could stay where they are, or we could walk them out. I personally like to think of my arms as support beams. My back is doing no work here. My arms are here to support the back. We'll just pause if we can. Finding that breath in. Finding that breath out. Deep inhale if possible. Deep exhale if we can. One more breath. Now if we're ready, we're going to come back up. We'll let our legs come back to center. Now they might need a little shaking out, might need to move them a little bit, that's okay. Now when we're ready, we try it on the other side. We take our right leg, we send it out, bring that left leg in. Now again, we place that right hand wherever we want it to go. It could be leg, side of us, front of us, make it your own. When we're ready, we'll let that left arm lift up, maybe up and overhead. But again, it could be, I lifted my left shoulder up, my rib cage tilted, and I just placed my hand on my hip or behind my back for that half bind stretch. Again, neither better nor worse, they just make them different. We're trying our best to breathe in, and trying our best to breathe out. One more full breath if we can. Now if we can, we're going to come back up. We'll find our twist, so deep inhale. Use the exhale to twist, and maybe those hands can find wherever they need to go. Again, we're trying our best to think tall through our back. Keep it strong. Full breath in. Full breath out. Now as we're ready, we're going to come back to center. We're going to find our forward fold from here. Hands can find the mat, and if it feels good, we'll just walk ourselves out. As always, we want to pay attention to what the back is telling us, what the legs are telling us. This is not about getting my nose to the floor or my forearms onto the floor. This is me tilting forward until I found just that right stretch. Again, trying your best to breathe in. Trying your best to breathe out. One more full breath if we can. Now if we're ready, we come back up. We'll let our legs come back to center. Maybe a little shake out, maybe we move our feet. And we're going to bring our backs down onto the mat. When we're ready, just get there however it feels right, whatever we personally need today. Now maybe it feels good to hug the knees and rock. Maybe we're more of a windshield wiper the knees kind of person. Make that time your own. As always, if this feels better than a twist, we don't do a twist. If a twist would feel good, I invite you to do any kind of twist to the right. Today, it might be a very gentle twist where the hips have glued to the mat and we just simply knocked our knees over. It could be a very restorative pose, and restorative just means props are doing the work for us. It could mean blocks are underneath our legs. If we have pillows or blankets, we could even stuff them in between our knees or our shins. Make this time your own. So whatever twist we found, we'll try our best to breathe in And breathe out. Full inhale if possible. Full exhale. And then if we're ready, we can come back to center. Find any twist of our choosing in the opposite direction. So I've been mentioning a lot of gentle twists, a lot of restorative twists. If that's not what we need right now, don't feel like you have to do it. So I always like to say we're not beholden to the pose. We're not beholden to anything I am saying. We're beholden to exactly one thing, and that is ourselves. So do what is going to serve you right now. Can we give this 3 more breaths? And then when you are ready, you can come back up towards center. And we might need to move a little bit. Now when we are ready, we'll find our bound angle pose. You can always let the knees fall out to the side as the feet come together. If we need support, we can place those blocks, pillows, folded blankets. If even with support it doesn't feel good, we come out, we reverse the direction of those hips. Now we've rotated inwards, we found our pyramid legs. Again, make this time your own. What do you need right now? But whatever we found, I invite you to perhaps close the eyes. Maybe we take a deep breath in. And on the exhale, we relax our shoulders down. Maybe we take another deep breath in. And the shoulders relax down just a little more than before. We might even find we have to readjust. Maybe the arms need to readjust. Maybe the shoulder blades need to readjust. And we might repeat that. The inhales, just fill up the body. The exhales, relax our shoulders. Now we are welcome to stay here. We've hit that last minute of our practice, and that could be our chance to do whatever it is we need to do. Now maybe that means staying here. Maybe that means coming into a different version of Shavasana. Maybe that means a few extra poses. But I do invite you to eventually wind down into Shavasana pose, into resting pose. As always in this class, the only rule for Shavasana is that it's something that we can rest in with little to no muscle activity. Thinking almost like we're about to fall asleep, perhaps. But again, we want to make sure this time is our own. Shavasana in this class is relatively short, so we might like to pause the practice, put a timer on our phone, and let our Shavasana be as long as we need it to be. I will play the singing bowls for a few minutes. Eventually they'll fade into silence. Eventually I will guide us back to our easy seat. What we do between now and then is always entirely our own. deep breath in and that deep breath out. We are welcome to start to return movement as movement feels right. Notice what organic ways we would like to move our body. And as always, noticing if there's a temptation to jump out of Shavasana, and just notice if we can at least delay the response. So if we can delay that jumping out of Shavasana by even a breath or two, we're doing a lot of good for ourselves. But again, we're going to make that movement what we need it to be. We'll add on as it feels right to add on. Eventually, we'll build up enough movement that we can make our way maybe to our side or slowly up through the middle, and we'll find our way back to an easy seat. Now, once we find that easy seat and no rush, we get there as we get there. We'll let our hands come together at the heart. We'll pause. We'll seal in our practice with a moment of gratitude. And today we might just ask ourselves, what am I grateful for? Not necessarily as a platform to find an answer, but just to repeat those words to ourselves. What am I grateful for? And then whatever meaning of Namaste resonates, and perhaps today it is the resilience within me recognizes and honors the resilience within you. I thank you for your time, and I thank you for your practice. Namaste.